gotten to know her on the phone, so it's great to see her like skin on in person. So, yeah.
Skin on. As opposed to skin off, right? Because that would be gross.
So Kendra was a corporate executive who thought she had it all: money, prestige, power. She bought into the me culture. She devoured all the pleasures the world had to offer, but nothing satisfied her desire to find something more. And her life was filled with stress, anxiety, and never being good enough. We all feel that sometimes, right? We're not quite good enough. She bought into the lie that life was not supposed to be peaceful and loving, that it was stressful and difficult. So party hard because life is short. Kendra was a confirmed Catholic. She had been baptized, received First Communion, been confirmed. And they would attend Mass on Christmas and Easter when she was a child. Her fundamental revelation for God and the world raised her. When she moved out of her home, she didn't go to church of any kind. Then God found her on Easter in 2013. Lived the reality upside down and transformed her life. Her transformation was so miraculous that she left her executive career to inspire others to deepen their relationship with God as a Catholic speaker, radio host, author, podcaster, on social media, and a YouTube enthusiast. She speaks about how her relationship with God, the supernatural sacramental graces of the faith, and the gifts of the Holy Spirit have changed everything in her life. She is our female modern-day St. Paul.
Or St. Augustine, one of the two.
That's what it is.
Yay. All right. Oh, no.
Okay, I'm Grace.
I'm Grace. Okay, can you hear me? Yes. All right. I never have a problem with people hearing me. I have a voice that carries. I'm going to be holding my phone here because I do want to also record this. So I don't know if I'll post it on my YouTube video or not. Maybe we'll post it on your site or something. Who knows? Maybe I'll chop it up and get it out there in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so who knows my story? A couple of you. Okay. Who was dragged here against your will? Hold them up high. Hold them up high. There you go. All right. I promise it won't be boring, and I have a feeling that a lot of you guys are ladies. By the way, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Chicago. Yay! And we say you guys. It's a thing, but it doesn't mean that you're dudes. You are women, as we were born women, right? Like God made us. Okay, so when I say guys, I really don't mean it. It's gender neutral. Okay. Let me share a little bit about who I was before God literally pulled me out of the pits of hell. Literally. So, let's first talk about my confirmation, my Catholic walk, and I'm trying not to pop the peas on here, so I'll get used to it. So my Catholic walk was not at all Catholic. I was baptized, thank you, Mom and Dad. And they initiated me in the church. I received my first Holy Communion, and I was confirmed. But I didn't know a thing about the church. All I knew was Mass was so boring. Somebody get me out of here, every Christmas and Easter, because that's how we practice Catholicism. I call them Creasters, Christmas and Easter goers. Creasters, right? So I was one of those, and we would go every Christmas and Easter, and I didn't know why I was at Mass. I had no idea that the Eucharist, Holy Communion, that we all just received, most of us at least, hopefully in a state of grace, and if not, there's confession line right over here that you can go sit in. I'll explain my confession story in a minute, but I had no idea that the Eucharist, Holy Communion, was Jesus. Body, blood, soul, and divinity. How could I have gotten confirmed in this Catholic Church and not known that? What is wrong? Okay, I don't even know who Jesus is. How about that one? I don't know he's God. I'm just thinking he's God's son, right? Or at least that's what the world told me. Because guess what? I learned Catholicism from the world, not from the church. Last but not least, how in the world do I not know why Jesus died for us? He's crucified on the cross. I have no idea what his passion is. I have no idea why he died for us, which, by the way, in case any of you don't, it was for the love of us. It was to save us from sin and to give us his beautiful church, this Catholic church that I ran from my entire life, to help us on the journey with these things called sacraments, which I had, again, no idea what sacraments were. Seriously, how can I call myself a Catholic? Seriously, I'm probably going to trip over this cord for people who can see me up in the front. If I go down, help me out, okay? All right. So, I'm out there, I'm going to CCD, but you need to know it's just something that my parents did. I'm really grateful that they initiated me in the church, but they didn't know anything either. They weren't practicing. They were creasters, as I told you, but they never talked about God or Jesus or anything. I never heard anything about God until it was Saturday morning when I'm eating my cereal, watching cartoons, getting ready to get in the car to go to CCD. Then all of a sudden my mom knows about God. Hey, do you guys have homework? Do you got CCD homework? And we're like, oh no, because we didn't even think about it until every Saturday. And so we'd be memorizing prayers in the car in my soccer uniform. And that was how it was in my family. So the world raised me. The world. By the way, the world is ruled by Satan. Okay? I'm just going to make it real simple for everyone. What the culture says today is a complete opposite perversion of what God told us we should do to be happy, to have peace that is beyond all understanding. God gave us the God positioning system. Here's the map, everybody. Go this way. But not me. I paid attention to what the world said, and my life was horrible. Okay, I sum it up. I'm looking around, and I think most of you will know this. Some of you may not. Regardless, do me a favor. Go online and search this commercial. The Angélie commercial. You remember? I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan. Everyone, and never, never, never let you forget you're a man, 'cause I'm a woman, Angélie, right? Excellent, excellent. Okay. That was good. We'll all have to get together and record that. Okay, so Angélie. I'm 10 years old. I'm showing my age here because in 1980 that commercial came out. I'm a chubby, mousy brown-haired tomboy as I see this commercial. I don't own a Barbie. I never had a doll. My whole life I played with my hockey-playing brothers. I was a guy. I was a total tomboy, if you will. I'm really happy I didn't grow up now because I may not have breasts or tried to do some surgery because the culture would have told me, hey, you're not a woman. Oh, those poor kids today. We're going to talk about that. It's our job, everyone, to speak truth with love, and we'll get to that later. Okay, so, Angélie, I'm freaking out. Because I'm looking at this woman saying, that is what I have to look like? And that is what I have to do to be happy? So I immediately, because if you think about it, she was a tall, that's why I want you to look this up when you get home. It's really funny when you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, how poor commercials were back then. Oh, so anyway, she's tall, she's blonde, she's thin. She has a corporate suit on. She's waving around a bunch of bucks in her hand. She's got a wad full of cash, right? She can also cook the bacon. Later on, she's reading her kids tickety-tock. I mean, this woman is everything, everything. So I better get to work. It was when I looked at my mom and I said, hey, Mom, can you give me that Jane Fonda's workout video? Okay, who? Come on, show me the hands who did it. Come on. All right, keep your hands up. Who? Oh, look at them all. They're all coming up now, aren't they? All right, now keep your hands up. Who had the leg warmers? Oh, there's even more hands coming up. All right, okay. I didn't have the leg warmers, which is my excuse to my mom, because I said, hey, I don't have the leg warmers, so I can't work out. Yeah, and so began my hatred with working out, right? It was punishment. It was because I needed to look like something I wasn't. And guess what? Then I started drinking Tab. Y'all remember Tab, right? Oh, I think I can still taste that. That is just the worst tasting stuff ever. And I'm eating salads and all this kind of stuff. And then I realized, I have zero willpower. So then I started bulimia. Guess what? Anorexia and bulimia were pretty prevalent at my day and age. So I'm like, okay, for those of you who don't know what bulimia is, it is eating and eating and eating and eating and eating, and then purging, throwing it up. And that's what I did, and I battled that for quite some time, even into my college years, because I needed to look like the world told me, to be thin. I mean, I have, thank you God, embraced this 5'4", man hand, bubble butt, chubby knees, Flintstone feet body, filled with cellulite bumps everywhere, and saggy boobs, and I've never even had a kid. I don't know what that story is all about. You know, I have stretch marks on the side of my breast, and I can't even believe I just said that out loud. That is a first. That one goes down. Y'all know way too much information. Stretch marks on my breasts. How about that? Without a kid. Okay. So. Okay. So. Where was I? Stretch mark. That one really threw me for a loop, to be honest with you. I can't believe I just said that. Okay. So I have come to embrace myself, but not at that time. I was all about comparing myself with everyone. So I was never good enough. Hello, everyone. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I don't make enough money. I want my friends' parents. I want my friends' sisters, because I grew up with 2 brothers. I was never satisfied with my own life, and I wanted everything I didn't have. That is evil. And then I keep growing up, and now, so guess what? Guess what another thing happened in my life, which nobody should see at 11 years old. I saw my first pornography film. Film, not pictures. A film. Wow, it's got quiet in here, didn't it? 11 years old, and I am watching horrific things, and I am buying into what this culture tells me is love. So you got 2 different things. You have people who use sex to get love, and people who use love to get sex. I was taught that I needed to do things with men in order to get them to like me, let alone love me. And along that time in high school, I also got introduced to beer and marijuana. So you add those on top of your hard to live with life. You're growing up. You're in your awkward teenage, adolescent, low 20s, where you're so uncomfortable in your skin. You don't know who you are, what you're supposed to be. If you don't have God, for sure you don't. For sure you don't. And so then I got introduced to marijuana, and that became an addiction for me for 20 plus years. And it's funny, as I sit here talking to all of you, in 2018, when I left my executive career, and I'll get there, to share all that God has done in my life, all that this Catholic faith has done in my life, I couldn't tell you all this. I certainly didn't tell you the stretch marks on my breasts. I definitely didn't share that. But I couldn't look at all of you and think, oh my gosh, what are they thinking of me? Are they judging me? All these people are so much holier than I am. How can I tell them what has happened in my life without feeling like I am being totally judged sitting here in front of all of you? So yeah, in the beginning of my ministry, God's ministry actually, I just glossed over it. I was a party animal. I stayed up. I was the one that closed down the bars. I was the one that was on the bar too, by the way. That was me. And then I got to, I brought all of my friends along. So I was a cheerleader in high school. And I made the excuse that I was a cheerleader only because I was bigger. Somebody needed to lift up those little skinny girls. So I guess that's going to be me, Always making excuses for things that happen in my life because of something else, not because maybe I might have been talented at it. And I was the first one, and when we were cheerleaders, we all agreed, we did a pact. We're not going to drink, we're not going to smoke. Guess who led everyone to drinking and smoking? That was me, because I could, because it was all available in my house. So junior year, almost all of them, there was one who did not. I will remember her till the day I pass off this earth. Sherry Hammond, the only cheerleader who would not drink, who would not smoke. And at the time, we didn't give her too much blowback for it. And I look back and I think, wow, how amazing she was back in those days. You never know what your witness will do to someone. Even 40 years later, I'm thinking about her. Okay, so get into college. Doesn't get any better. As a matter of fact, I'm sleeping around. I'm promiscuous because guess what? You don't make good decisions when you're drunk and high all the time. You just don't. And why was I drunk and high all the time? Because I didn't want to think. I didn't want to reflect. Honestly, I didn't want to relive the shame and everything that I was feeling and all of the things that I did. So yes, I slept around a lot. Some men I don't even remember the name of. That's what I'm talking about. I was married previously than my husband now, in the Catholic Church. He was a great guy. But I married with the culture idea of, hey, if it doesn't work, just get divorced. I married with the option to go somewhere else. How sad is that? And by the way, I ended up committing adultery on my husband, who is an awesome guy. His family's great. But at that time in my life, it was all about me. I was my Holy Trinity, me, myself, and I. Do whatever makes you feel good, right? If it feels good, do it. Yeah, I wasn't mean. I didn't mean to hurt people. I wasn't intentionally trying to do it, but I certainly didn't take their feelings into consideration. Okay, so then, I committed adultery on my husband. Ended up getting divorced. And then I was climbing the corporate ladder because everything else wasn't working. I thought I was happy. I did. And I wanted to climb the corporate ladder, and I was all about making money. I went to college just because everybody else did. And I didn't really go to be anything in particular. All I wanted to do was make money. So I came out, tried to get into sales, didn't do sales very well. I mean, you gotta know how to cold call and have discipline, and I did not have that in my life at that time. So I was not bashful. I would come up to you and say, hi, I might meet you at a party. So I walk up to you, I'm like, oh, what do you do? And you're telling me what you do, and I'm like, how much do you make? I had no shame. It was all about give me money, because that must be what makes me happy. I'm not gonna lie, money doesn't hurt. But money can be the root of all your evil if that becomes your idol. And it was. And so for me, I got into IT because of that woman that I asked, and she said, oh, I make $33,000. And I'm like, $33,000 at that time for me, coming right out of college, was huge. And so I got into ADP. You might know it. It's a payroll company. You might have some of your checks cut by them. And that was the start of my career in IT. Now, you need to know, I am so bad at technology. I'm that mom. You know, I go to my stepkids and I'm like, hey, can you come here and help me do this? Like, I don't know anything. Yet, I was able to manage and mentor and build relationships and hire a great team. I never gave myself credit for the skills and the true talents that God gave me at the time because I never really thought about my life at that time. You need to understand, I never thought about anything. I mean, I would wake up, boop, the TV was on. I'd walk in the house, the TV was on, the radio was on. I got in the car, the radio was on. This was on. I mean, I was talking, I was doing no quiet time at all. Quiet was scary because then I actually have to think and feel and stuff. Ugh, I don't want to do that. So I climbed the corporate ladder, and my big goal was to be a chief information officer at 40 years old. And 10 days before my birthday, I got the job. I got the title. I was like, woohoo, I made it. I'm going to be happy. This is all good. This is what the world told me. And it got so much worse. Patsy, keep me on target with time. Tell me when I got 10 minutes. I don't see a clock around here, okay? I have all day. You guys ain't going anywhere. Okay. All right. Remember, I smoked a lot of pot, so occasionally I have memory issues. So if I say, where was I? You two, you ladies, pay attention, because you're going to be the ones I look at. Okay, where was I? Where? Oh, she's watching the cord so I don't trip. Seriously, where was I? I just got the job. Excellent, thank you. I got the job. I was so excited. And then it got worse. Why? Because now I am comparing myself with executives. And now I am comparing myself with what they're driving, with their 2 houses, with their boats, with their wave runners, with their vacations. And then I'm seeing, holy cow, these people are a whole heck of a lot smarter than I am. When are they going to figure out the imposter syndrome? When are they going to figure out that I don't know what the heck I'm doing here? And that was my career in that role for quite a few years. So that was great for a couple of years, because guess what? If your company changes leadership, you are probably going to get a whole new team. So you won't maybe choose me as your chief information officer. During this time, after 2 years, all of my companies, there's 3 different companies, they're going to merge together. There's going to be one CEO, one CFO, one CIO, and so now I am freaking out because the other 2 candidates are men who have 10 more years experience than I do and who know a heck of a lot more about technology than me. So I'm freaking out because I'm the breadwinner. If I lose this job, we're going to have to sell our home, our second home, our boats. Life is going to be crazy. So if you don't think I was self-medicating earlier, you better believe I was, any moment I could start drinking. Hey, you guys want to have an off-site meeting at, the bar down there? I was cutting out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to go drink. I was bringing my pot to work in my car to smoke at lunch, to smoke on my way home. This is what is called an addiction. And I remember my mom saying to me, you should stop that. Mom, come on. I'm not hurting anybody. I got a house and all this stuff. I'm not destitute, homeless on the side of the road. I'm fine. Mother knows best, everyone. Just saying. So I'm freaking out. I can't sleep. I have such a neck ache. I don't know about you, but when I have stress, it goes right to my neck and my shoulders. And I could barely even move. I know I was clenching my teeth at night and I wasn't sleeping. A couple of times I actually woke up and I took shots of NyQuil to go back to bed. Scary. I don't know the peace of God. All I know is I need to numb myself. Let's see. It is 2013 now, I've been in my role for a while, I get a phone call. You might all be like, when do you tell us about how God found you and all? I'm getting there, it's right here. I just wanted you to know who I was so that if you're in Mass today and you don't know what they were saying or they're praying in Latin, just know that I started at -0. I didn't even know who Jesus was, right? I didn't know that the Eucharist. I was negative. So I get this phone call. It's my dad's girlfriend. And she says, your father is going in for quadruple bypass surgery tomorrow. And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, yeah, quadruple bypass. So I was freaking out. At this time in my life, I didn't have a whole lot of illnesses or sickness or death. So this was a big deal. And guess what? It was my dad. You know, I mean, and I've had my moments with my father, but this, I don't want him gone. So for the first time ever, did I pray for somebody else? So I did have a prayer life. You need to understand that I did believe in God. I just didn't know Jesus was God. I didn't have this atheist kind of thing. I didn't get sucked into this New Age stuff. I knew that there was a God. But I didn't know how to pray. I didn't have a relationship with him. I was even praying this prayer up until 40-something years old sometimes at night in bed. Now I lay me down to sleep. Everybody do it with me. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I awake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. If I should live another day, I pray the Lord to guide my way. Not many people know that last one. Don't ask me how I do, because I don't know where I learned that from. But I did pray, and I did other prayers. I'm air quoting for those in the back. Lord, will you help me lose weight? Lord, will you help this boy like me? Lord, will you help me pass this test in college? Because I was out partying all night. My dad can't see another failing grade come home. Lord, will you help me get this job? Lord, will you help me keep this job? These were my prayers. But for the first time ever, I prayed for somebody other than me. And I was serious about it. And I was crying. And I was on my knees. Lord, you cannot take my dad. Please don't take my dad. And then I was smart enough to pray, and if you don't, please heal him fast because he's a nightmare. You know, we won't keep him on his back to heal. He'll be getting up and being on skates. And guess what? God answered my prayers in spades. He was healed in no time. In a couple of weeks, he was back on skates. It's crazy. And I was one of those 9 lepers that never went back to thank Jesus. At that time, I didn't even know Jesus was God, so I wasn't even praying to him. But guess what? It became my thing. All of a sudden, me, myself, and I, my Holy Trinity, I started looking at my husband and I'm like, dude, we're packing on an extra 10, 15 pounds. We could be in that hospital. We should do something. And at the time, I was watching Dr. Oz. Y'all know that guy? Oh my gosh. I've since weaned myself off of that show because I would just bring all these things home or try all this stuff. And I did. I bought a cleanse book off of his show. And inside I don't know how I did. Has anyone done a cleanse, by the way? Okay, not many. It's hard. I mean, like, you eat free-range chicken, organic vegetables, and wild-caught fish, and a whole bunch of water. No caffeine, no bread, no alcohol. What? That's why I can't believe I got my husband to do it with me. We only did it for 2 weeks. It was that hard. But it was funny. You also had to buy all these supplements so that you can detox your liver and all these things. They were like horse pills, like tiny little children he had to swallow. And my husband can't swallow a baby aspirin. And he looked at these things and he goes, how many of these do I have to take? And I'm like, I don't know, something like 11 a day. And he's like, what? You know? Yeah, so let's just say we didn't stay on it for very long. But that day, I was going to put my list together for all the supplements that we had to go get. And there was a pie chart, little segments of your life. One of them said spirituality. And I was like, geez, I got nothing going on in this piece of the pie, like zero. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm cleansing my body, might as well cleanse my soul. I'm going to go back to church. Right? I heard someone laugh over here. Right? I'm going to go back to church, but I'm not going back to that Catholic church. I don't want to live by all those rules. I don't want to change my life. I want to sleep in on Sunday. And you know what? I'm going to go to the one that I see cops directing traffic down the road, this big box kind of church. I'm going to go do that thing because it looks like fun. Look at all those cars. I don't see that at the Catholic church. At this time, my husband and I are going to start our cleanse on Easter Sunday. Not knowing that it's the biggest feast day in the church, like you're supposed to celebrate, but my husband and I are going to eat nothing, you know. So we decide we're going to bring all my family over to my house on Easter Saturday. Holy Saturday, as now I know. I don't know about you, but when it comes diet time, I am eating everything under the sun the day before because I'm not going to have that for a while. 2 short weeks in this case. But I went crazy. I'm telling you, I'm serious, I probably ate a whole cake, no doubt. I'm a sweets person. And I probably drank a couple of bottles of wine. And so by the time 11:30 came along on Holy Saturday, and I'm going to go to church on Sunday, Easter Sunday, not Catholic, I tell everyone it's 11:30, and I'm like, okay, everyone, I got to go to bed. I got church tomorrow. Oh my gosh, you should have seen their faces. If I had a camera in my eyes, I would have been so happy to just take. So half of them went, what? And the other half went, why? You know, like all of the fallen away Catholics in my family are questioning, why are you going back to church? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And so my mom's boyfriend, Lord rest his soul, he who was an altar boy, he went to Catholic church. He had such a bad taste of the Catholic faith, never practiced. He has the audacity to ask me where I'm going to church. Where are you going? And I said, I'm going to go to this Harvest Bible Church. And my mom's boyfriend looks at me and says, well, why aren't you going to the Catholic church? Do you want to know what ran through my mind at that moment? Like, really? You guys are putting me through the 3rd degree and none of you guys are doing anything. And so I just said, I don't know, I just think I would be a big hypocrite. I don't want to go back there and mass, hello, boring. But guess what? God didn't allow them to let up on me. Then my mom chimed in and my dad chimed in. And, you know, yes, my 2 divorced parents can come together for Easter with their, you know, we have a good thing going there. So I'm getting pummeled by all these non-practicing Catholics telling me to go to the Catholic church. So I finally gave up. I grabbed my phone and I said, all right, fine. I'll find the nearest Catholic church. So my husband's looking at me like, you're going to tell me about this? And you don't expect me to go with you, right? I mean, how funny is that? No, honey, I don't expect you to go. So guess what? My husband was also an altar boy and went to Catholic church or Catholic school for a couple of years. And he knows even less about the Catholic faith than I did at that time. How does this happen? How does this happen? So the alarm goes off the next day, and I'm telling you, I am bloated. I mean, I went to bed with my stomach like 6 months pregnant kind of feeling, you know. I was hungover. I slammed the alarm, and I'm thinking, whose stupid idea was this? Oh, my gosh. Now I got to go because I told everyone I was going to go. If I just shut my mouth, I would be able to sleep in, you know, and we'd be all fine. You know, and so I wake up and I put something church-worthy on to wear, and I get in my car and I go to this church I've never been to before. I've never been to Mass on my own. Ever. I've always gone with my first husband's family or my family. And when I would go with my family, we would be walking out the door after Holy Communion to beat the traffic. I think there was one parish who put something over the top of the doors as you went out, something like, don't be a Judas leaving before Jesus, or something like that. It was awesome. I'll have to find out what that thing said, but really made you think. And so I'm going into this church, you guys, I'm scared to death. I'm freaking out. Come on, I'm going by myself. I've never been to this place. And so this little lady is walking in front of me, and I'm like, all right, I'll just follow her. We walk up to the holy water font, and I know what to do there. I bless myself. And then I spy a seat in the back pew, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's one in the back. Because I don't want y'all seeing me standing or kneeling at the wrong time, because I know you're all just watching me. And all you people are so much holier than I am. You all know what's going on here, and you're paying attention, so I'm just going to stick in the back. And I'm praying, seriously, I'm like, Lord, please don't have this little lady in front of me take that back pew. I want that. She goes in the pew right in front of it. Thank you, God. Of course, I didn't say that, but... So I watch her genuflect. For those who don't know, that is when we kneel and make the sign of the cross to the tabernacle, wherever that is. We're not doing it to Jesus on the cross, because Jesus is in the tabernacle. Hopefully it's in the center of your church. And then she kneels, and I'm thinking to myself, wondering what she's saying. I'm on my knees, following her. And then the priest comes up the side of the church, and he's saying, Happy Easter, Happy Easter. And then he comes down the back, and it's me and this other guy in the back row. And he says, hello, people in the back row. Now, I've never talked to a priest in my life. I don't even know that they're celibate. I have no idea what their role is other than they're super holy, and I don't get them. But this guy is normal. He's making me laugh. I feel pretty good until... he starts the Mass, he turns around, says, peace be with you, and I'm all confident, like, all right, I got this one. And also with you. Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying that. And I'm screaming it pretty loud in front of this poor little lady's head, and I know she's thinking, ooh, it's been a long time since she's been here. Why wasn't I notified of this change? Where was my memo? Hello, Catholic Church. So yeah. I shut up the whole rest of that time. I just watched what this little lady did. And who knew that you changed the Our Father with your hands up and all this stuff? I'm like, oh. And then it's time to go receive Holy Communion. And I'm telling you, I got almost every mortal sin on my soul. And I will even say murder. Why? Because I was on birth control for over 25 years. I guarantee you I murdered many a baby. Take that to confession, people. All of the commandments, I've busted every single one of them, shattered them. And I walk up and I receive Jesus anyway, because I don't know that it's Jesus that I'm receiving, or that I should be in a state of grace. And as I'm walking to receive him, I go completely brain fart. I'm like, oh, what do I say? I was going to say thank you. I went through, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? And I'm like stretching to hear what the people in front of me are saying. Nobody's saying it loud enough, So I'm like, oh my gosh. And it came. I was panicked, seriously. I'm so glad I didn't say thank you. Thank you, God, for that. So I say amen. I go back and I sit and I do what she does, and I'm not praying. And then all of a sudden, it's announcements. Now, I have not been there this long. I don't remember that there's announcements from when I went with my first husband's family. So I'm just listening, and he says, next Sunday, Divine Mercy Sunday, which I had no idea what beautiful promises are on that day, the Sunday after Easter. Hopefully you guys have some great parishes around here that have confession on that day. Look up the promises, write that down. But I don't know this. All of a sudden, the weirdest thing happened to me. I'm sitting there. You know how when you see a picture and it's the person is focused, but all the other people are like blurry? That's what happened to me. I'm just sitting there. You all go away. I'm like, wow, confession. Holy moly. How long has it been? I ran out of fingers, so I had to carry the one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been 26 years since my last confession. 26 years! And then I thought, if I believe a half of a mustard seed of this Catholic faith, I'm so going to hell. I knew it. But at that time, I did not decide to go to confession. I didn't. So the following Sunday, I go to 7:30 Mass. As a matter of fact, I kind of looked at that Mass and I said, I will find out what they say if it's not "and also with you." And for those who haven't been at Mass in a long time, they don't say "and also with you" anymore. We say "and with your spirit." But during that time, God led me to the internet to look up the Mass so that I didn't say "and also with you." What did you guys say? Everyone that's surrounding me who knows what's going on. And then I get led to this word that starts with an E. Eucharist, something like that. And boy, God took me down a rabbit hole with the Eucharistic miracles that are out there. Hundreds and hundreds of proofs that Jesus is in the Eucharist. He is the Eucharist, body, blood, soul, and divinity. Okay, that's a little sidetrack. So let's go back. Okay, next Sunday, I go back to Mass, all good. Beautiful weather in Chicago doesn't happen during this time of the year. So my husband says, let's go golf. I say, okay, we go golf. My neck is still on fire, remember that? And this is not a good position to be in when your neck hurts. So I got 3 holes in. I said, babe, I got to go. So I went home, took the pressure off of my neck, laid down with my 2 dogs, looked up into the ceiling fan, and out of nowhere, confession after 2 o'clock Spanish Mass. And I'm like, whoa. So I'm laying there and I'm thinking, well, I don't know, maybe it'll make my neck feel better. Let's give it a shot. I roll over, I see it's 1 o'clock. I can make it. I don't know about the examination of conscience, which is sitting over here for those who are going to go into confession. I have no idea about that. All I do is get a pen and an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and I just start writing. Hello Kitty eraser I stole in 7th grade. Like this kind of general confession comes out of these hands. And I flip the page over and I fill the whole backside, and I do not have big handwriting. I fold that thing up as small as I could, and I put it in my purse because I didn't want anyone else seeing that. And then I go to the same church. It is a super hilarious and emotional story. It's in my book, Am I Catholic? A Struggle with Faith, Humility, and Surrendering to God. If you get the book, though, my only ask is that you hand it to someone like me, please. It's written to give you hope, but it's written for them. I don't get all catechesis-y. I don't throw Bible verses in their face. I just share my journey up until, the point that I left my career. I don't know where to go. We're going right into confession. I can't even get into the whole thing. But it is so good. I'm sorry. It's a really good story. So I walk in. I don't know what to say, but I do because of the movies. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been X amount of years, yada, yada. I only know that because of the movies. The last time I went to confession, I wasn't in a confessional box. It was like in a cafeteria, kind of like this, almost like a gym. And it was a screen, and it was like, a cattle call. Next, and it was such a weird experience. And so I'm so uncomfortable. I am about ready to share what is on this paper. And I had a problem writing it, let alone saying it out loud. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, God is going to grill me in there. I am going to get a butt whooping like nobody. This priest is going to give me the worst penance ever. I am freaking out. I'm so scared. I'm scared to death. I'm shaking. So what do? I go to comedy. And I kneel down on my kneeler, and I'm like, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. Get a load of this. It's been 26 years since my last confession. This is exactly how I say it, in exactly the same way. And he says, in the most beautiful voice, welcome home. And it was at that moment that I know, isn't it amazing? Welcome home. I knew God loved me. All of my horrible things that I did, I knew that he loved me. I knew that I belonged in this church. I knew that that was God. You have no idea the feeling, the outpouring of the Holy Spirit that came over me. And I couldn't talk. My tears were like, it was a faucet hitting the page. I couldn't see the words anymore. They were all blurry. The frog in my throat was so big. We finally got through. I don't know how long we were in there. I gotta say, it had to have been 20, 30 minutes, something like that. I was the first one in line. Yeah, by the way, if you got that much to say, make an appointment with a priest. You can still keep it anonymous. You can still meet him in the confessional and all of that at a certain time. But I didn't know that. All I knew was I was feeling love in that confessional. And then it came time for him to absolve me of my sins. And oh my gosh, the outpouring of love and peace. Thank you. I do have some under here. This is typical of me. Thank you so much. When he was saying those words, I went through a resting in the Spirit on my knees kind of thing, where I knew I was there. I couldn't feel my body, but I was so relaxed. I was so filled with joy, so filled with love. I was changed. So what happens? I leave. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a line all the way through the church, out the narthex, around the corner. I was so mortified. I did this. Oh boy. I just walked straight out, didn't look at anyone. Nobody. And I do have to say one more thing. So as he was absolving me of my sins, and then it was time to pray the act of contrition, I remember being all like, wait, what? Like, don't you remember I was here for 26 years? He's like, I don't know the act of contrition. He's like, it's taped on your kneeler. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Put it on your phone if it doesn't get taped. And by the way, there wasn't one of these in there. Not one. I was a complete mess. I had my makeup everywhere. Snots were coming out like I've never experienced in my life. I had that dry snot thing on my golf pullover. I mean, I was a mess. So yes, when I walked out and I saw those people, I wanted to get away like that Southwest commercial. But I got out to my car and I looked back at those doors of that Catholic church and I was like, what was that? What was that? That, my dear friends, was God. And in a way that was mystical and supernatural and real. I have been trying to medicate myself and find that peace and love my whole life. I could have taken every drug and every ounce of alcohol in the world at the same time and never felt that ecstasy, that love, that mercy, that I'm home, welcome home, what a great thing to say. And my friends, that was when I realized I better find out about this Catholic Church, and I better figure out what it means to be Catholic, because I want that, but at the same time, like that was the little angel over here. Then I had the devil on the other shoulder saying, no, you don't. You don't want to change your life. How boring are those Jesus freaks? And yes, I called us Jesus freaks, and I'm concluding myself in it now, because I am one, proudly. I thought you guys were all weird, right? What are you guys doing with that Jesus, Don't you know there's a life out here and all this other stuff? So, that, and I'm going to pause here, but that was when the Holy Spirit said and put in my heart, you better find out what this Catholic Church is all about. And that was continuously, and now till this day, is this unquenchable thirst to figure out what's in this faith. To know that these sacraments and the church that Jesus gave us is here for us. Why? If the world knew about the sacraments, two, for me at least, confession and the Eucharist, we wouldn't be able to shut the doors. We wouldn't be able to keep people out. So why don't they know it? Why are we talking about it? Why is that Eucharist not transforming us and this church? And we'll get into that the next time, because I can see Miss Patsy over here and her eyes are saying, stop, stop, stop. How did I do? Okay, all right. I'll see you guys in another few.
Woo! You can see why I was so excited to have her speak, right?